In today's video, I'm going to show you how to use what's in this little jar to make some of the most delicious sandwich bread you have ever had. And we're going to be using the stand mixer and baking this bread in the oven. This is an Amish potato flake sourdough starter. This is not your ordinary sourdough, and anyone can do this. If you have the potato flake starter, anyone can do this. You do not have to be an expert bread maker. It's very easy to make, almost foolproof. I have another video that I'll put the link to right here where I show you how to make this starter if you don't have one or don't have somewhere that you can purchase a starter from to start with. So let's get started making this bread. Now I'm using a recipe out of my Amish cookbook. It's called Treasured Keepsakes. I bought this at an Amish store. It's just one of those cookbooks, you know, where people get together and submit recipes and make a cookbook, and the lady at the Amish store bakery recommended this book to me when I was asking about the bread they made, and when I got my potato flake starter from them before I made my own. And this is the recipe that they use for the sourdough bread that they sell there in their bakery. And we're going to be making a full recipe. So most of your Amish recipes are rather large. This one is actually not as large as many of the recipes in this book, but it does make 3 loaves of bread. I'll have a link below in the description of this video if you need to get the measurements and everything for the recipe to make this bread. The first thing we're going to start off with is 1 cup of potato flake sourdough starter. So I just took this out of the refrigerator this morning, and it has come to room temperature. It's already gotten active. It has a wonderful smell, and I'm going to, after I make my bread, then with the starter that I have left, I'm going to feed it and let it sit on the counter and then put it back into the refrigerator. After a few hours, I'll put it back in the refrigerator because I'm not going to be making bread for a few days, and there's no need for me to feed it every day. So I just put it in the refrigerator. It's very easy to keep, a very easy to keep starter, and a very easy bread to make. So I want 1 cup of this starter, and I always stir it because those potato flakes, as you will notice, sink to the bottom, and I want to make sure I get a good mixture. So stir it up before you pour it into your measuring cup. So we need 1 cup of starter. I'm going to go ahead and pour that 1 cup into my mixing bowl. Then we also need 1.5 cups of water. Now it calls for warm water, but I have found I just use room temperature water. It works just fine. You can warm your water up a little bit if you want to, but don't get it over like 100 or 110 degrees. I would stick to around 100 if you warmed it up. So we put 1.5 cups of water to our 1 cup of starter. I'm just going to stir that up a little bit. Now I need 1/2 cup of sugar. And I know that sounds like a lot, but we are making 3 loaves of bread. So there's 1/2 cup of sugar. And this bread does have a very, very slightly sweet flavor. I wouldn't call it a sweet bread, but it does have, you know, a slight sweetness to it, even though it's made from a sourdough starter. Now we need 1/2 cup of oil. And they specifically call for corn oil in their recipes. I know a lot of us like to avoid corn and corn products, but corn oil does work really well in this recipe. But you can use any kind of oil you want to. We need 1 tablespoon of salt. And we need 1 tablespoon of yeast. And we need 6 cups of bread flour. Now, if you're making this for the first time, you might want to like add 4 cups of your bread flour and let it mix for a little while. Add the 5th cup and make sure that you need all 6 cups. I have made this recipe many, many times, and I know that most of the time mine turns out just right, but everybody measures flour differently. So when you're making yours for the first time, put in 4 cups, let it mix a little, you know, like a minute, add the 5th cup Let it mix. Decide how much of that 1/6 cup you need, because you may be measuring your flour a little heavier than I measure mine. And I don't weigh my flour, so I can't tell you the weight of this flour. I can tell you the weight that a cup of flour maybe should weigh, but even that is all over the board when I look that up. But if you're making it for the first time, don't put all 6 cups of your flour in at first. Add them slowly. But I know I'm going ahead and add all of mine because I know it's going to work out. Okay, so I brought the camera over here so hopefully you can see. It's a little difficult for me to film on this side of the room. I'm going to add my dough hook, put my dough hook on my mixer, make sure my mixing bowl is locked in, and then we're going to start off slow by about number 2 on your mixer. So hopefully you can see this. I'm going to try to show you. It's a very dry, shaggy dough at first. But I'm not going to add water yet. It's been mixing a couple of minutes. I'm not going to add water yet because it's mixing together really well. I'm going to let it continue to mix, and you will notice that it starts to come together and pull away from the bowl. Okay, I just wanted to show you how the dough ball has come together and it has pulled away from the bowl, and the mixing bowl the sides are clean and it has come together. It does need to mix a little bit more. This is a pretty dry, stiff dough, and that's just the way it is. If you get it too wet, your results are not as good. So don't add water. Let it be a pretty shaggy, dry dough. So I just want to show you what this dough ball looks like after it's been mixing. We're not going to like look for the window pane test or anything like this. This particular recipe doesn't seem to require that much kneading and mixing. Just make sure everything is incorporated. There's no dry spots or no spots where you see something is not mixed in well. So now that we have our dough thoroughly mixed, we're going to cover it and let it rise until it at least doubles in size, and this usually takes anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. Now you could cover it in this bowl if you wanted to, but I found that stainless steel is kind of cold, and sometimes my bread doesn't rise well if I leave it in the stainless steel bowl. So I have this big 6-quart container, and it's cylinder shaped, so you can really tell how the dough is rising, and you can even oil it a little bit so that it doesn't dry out. Just put a little bit of oil and then get your dough ball out, roll it around in that oil. And I like to press my dough ball down in this container. It helps me see how it's rising. So it's just below the 2-quart mark. And I can put the lid on it. I usually set this inside of my oven with the oven off, but the light on, and let it rise. Or if the house is really warm, just sit it in a warm place, wherever that might be for you. Make sure it's covered so it doesn't dry out. And we're going to let it double in size, and then we'll shape it and put it into our loaf pans. Our dough has finished rising, and as you can see, we're up to about 3 quarts. It was under 2 quarts when we started, so it is more than doubled in size, and it looks great and it smells great. And I have cleaned my surface area here, and I'm just going to take it out of this bowl that I had it rising in, and I'm going to punch it down a little bit. And I have my scale here, and I have it on grams. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to weigh this big ball, because I'm going to divide it into 3 loaves. And you can just guesstimate it, eyeball it if you want to, but I always like to weigh mine. And it's going to be It's 1816 grams, 1,816 grams. So that's going to be about 606 grams, pretty close, a piece for each loaf. And I don't have to knead this or anything. I just punched the air down out of it. Now I'm going to divide it up into my 3 pieces. That's 605, which is really close enough. There's one. $6.11, which is probably okay too. That one is 608, and then this one is 601. So they're within a few grams of each other. Now I have here my loaf pans. I have oiled them lightly. They are non-stick. And what I do is I just press the dough out into somewhat of a rectangle, about as wide as my pan. I'm not real persnickety about it, I'll be honest with you. Just press it out. You can use a rolling pin if you want to. I just do it so often, I just do it with my hands. I just press it out here, like so. Now I'm just going to roll it up. And pinch in those ends. Just getting a tight, what I'm doing is I'm pinching in those ends, and then I'm just taking my hands and pulling it toward me, and that makes that top really tight. There was an air bubble there, I popped it. So let's do this again. And always pat it, because that is so satisfying. And then we're gonna put that in the loaf pan. See how it's not perfectly the same size, but it'll rise up and it'll fill the pan. And then we're just gonna do the other 2. Now you could take this same dough if you wanted to, and you could make cinnamon rolls out of it. It would make really good cinnamon rolls. But it makes excellent sandwich bread. Okay, now I am going to put these in a warm place and let them rise until they double. And for me, that's going to be in my oven. I have a double oven, so I'm going to use the top oven, which I will not be baking in. And I have the light on. And for me, this second rise usually takes about 30 minutes, but I usually just watch it and see when it's ready, and then we will score the top of it and get ready to bake it. So our loaves have finished rising, and we are going to carefully take them out. They're at kind of a fragile state right now. Now I have preheated my oven. I have a convection oven, so I have put it on convection at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have a convection oven, you can do 350 degrees. But the lower temperature helps this bread to bake with a softer crust. It's almost practically crustless bread. It doesn't have a hard crust at all. And this step is probably optional, but I always do it. I like to score it, and you can just go crazy. You can score it however you want. I use a razor blade. You could probably use a really sharp knife. Just be careful. You don't want to deflate the loaf. So I use a razor blade, and I've tried many different things and found that I just like one long score down the middle is what I like. But I have done lots of different designs, and you can definitely have fun with it and score it however you want. This just helps it to rise a little bit more and have a little oven spring. And so now I'm going to put these into my preheated oven for about 20 to 23 minutes. And I always take the temperature and I want it to be above 180 degrees. So I'm going to pop them in the oven for about, and set a timer for 20 minutes, and then I will check the internal temperature. So the timer went off. I'm going to try to video here me taking the temperature. It is at 149. And I always take the temperature of the one in the middle. I'll check this one too, but the one in the middle usually gets done last. That one's at 161. So I'm going to set my timer for 5 more minutes. Okay, so we got our loaves out of the oven, and we are going to take them out of the pans very gently and put them on this little rack to cool. And I always give it a little shake to make sure it's not stuck. I have really good success with these pans. These are just cheap little pans that I got at Walmart. I think it's the Mainstays brand, you know, the brand that Walmart carries. And they just do so good. This loaf gave me a little ear, which is interesting. It must have been the way that I cut it. Now, it doesn't seem to be, okay, now it's loose. I always shake it to make sure it's loose. But just look at that crust, it's beautiful. And although it feels, you know, you can hear it like crispy now, after this cools and I put it in a plastic bag to store it, the crust just is so soft. It's like crustless. I call it crustless. You really don't have to worry about having a crust if you have anybody in your house who doesn't like a hard crust on their bread, and I do have someone like that. So I'm going to let these cool. So our loaves have cooled down quite a bit, and they're still a little warm, but I'm running out of time, and I want to slice into it and show you the crumb and let you see what it looks like on the inside. So I'm using a bread slicer here. It just helps me to get all the pieces the same size, and an electric knife. If you don't have an electric knife, just use something with a serrated blade, something with teeth to cut it with. And these loaves are a little bit long for my guide, so I always cut the first piece off and then slice. And I just want to show you what this looks like. And it is super soft. It smells wonderful. Just show you how soft and fluffy it is. Give it that little squeeze test everybody likes to see. It just bounces right back. It is soft and it's delicious. And the crust, already the crust has gotten so soft on this. I call it crustless. It's a delicious bread, and I know you and your family will love it. You need to give it a try. So leave me a comment below. Let me know how you liked it and if you tried it and if you have any questions. And also I was going to tell you, I store this in a little plastic bag, a gallon size. These small loaves fit in a gallon size twist tie bag, and I just put them in there and get as much of the air out as I can and put the tie on it, and it freezes really well. You can freeze it for several months. Just take it out of the freezer, let it thaw, and then you can slice it, and it's fresh, just like fresh made bread. Thanks for joining me today. God bless. Bye-bye.